Warm good evening. We welcome you to the second session of the SIMO Mediation Lecture Series. This knowledge-packed mediation lecture series by eminent speakers will throw light on mediation and its practices in both domestic and international platforms. International Mediations Organization, known as IMO, is a not-for-profit organization with the object of peace forever achieved through mediation service by facilitating and conducting mediation awareness programs. Center for International Mediation Organization, known as CIMO, is a brainchild of IMO, wherein we intend to take mediation as an effective tool of dispute resolution to the next level by rendering mediation services, by establishing mediation centers, and conducting training programs for professionals, imparting knowledge on latest practices in mediation so as to create expertise in specific verticals. CIMO was inaugurated by Honorable Justice Kirvakaran, Judge of the Madras High Court, in the presence of Mr. Kamlesh Joshipura, Chairman, Legal Research Foundation of India, in June 2019, whereby Mr. Arvind Pandian, Additional Advocate General, Government of Tamil Nadu, and Dr. Bhavna Joshipura, Senior Advocate, presided over the brainstorming discussion on mediation. We participated and spearheaded the Global Pound Conference in collaboration with the International Mediation Institute Netherlands and the GPC United Kingdom as a part of evolving and setting up an international standard on mediation. With the humble participation and hard work of our members, the overall voting in India moved to 34.43%, by way of which India has been recognized as a potential member in the global mediation arena. And IMO is glad of the results of Vote for India, Your Vote Counts campaign. We record our sincere thanks to Mr. Nandakumar, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court, Mr. Rajkumar Odkia, Chartered Accountant, Mumbai, Dr. Chakkalingam, Principal, Ambedkar Law College, Chennai, and Mrs. Nalini and Mrs. Adi Lakshmi, the President and Secretary of Women Lawyers Association, Chennai, and all our founder members for the support and contribution. We are part of India Mediation Week celebrations in 2017 and a knowledge support member of the International Seminar on Arbitration conducted by SHM in 2018 and 2019. Our mediators have resolved more than 1,500 disputes on diverse issues. Our executive committee members, Mr. Sriram Shekhar and Mr. Arulili, represented IMO at the signing treaty of the Singapore Convention on Mediation held on 7th August 2019. With this note, I once again welcome you all for the session on online mediation and strategic approaches to dispute resolution and invite Mrs. Ambili Menon, Registrar of CIMO, to introduce the speaker, Mr. Anil Xavier. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Premi, for those wonderful words. Now we have an introduction of CIMO. I am Ambili Menon once again, moderating this series for you. When we curated this series, I was thinking of a very comprehensive, not elaborate, but a very comprehensive understanding of what is mediation, how to mediate, and the progress of mediation through very eminent speakers and what is the future. Towards that, yesterday we had a brilliant start with Mr. Bharat Chakravarti giving us insight into the basics of mediation and the regulations through amendments and other legislations. Today, when I thought about what would be the best choice or who would be the right person to talk about the future of mediation and about online mediation platforms, I could not think about anybody else other than Mr. Anil Xavier. Anil Xavier, as you all know, is one of the pioneers who have taken mediation from what it was not even recognized as an ADR to the most sought after ADR platform, ADR mechanism, as you know today. Let me introduce to you Anil Xavier, because it is very important to read out these, because it is very difficult for me to by heart all these things and say. So I have to necessarily read out the achievements and the contributions of Mr. Anil Xavier to mediation as an ADR mechanism. Anil Xavier is the only member from India in the Independent Standards Commission and Ethics Committee of the International Mediation Institute at The Hague. He is the chair of the International Accreditation Committee of Asian Mediation Association for making standards for training and accreditation of mediators among member countries. The other members in the committee are from Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, and Indonesia. He was a member of the advisory board of the Central Organizing Group of the Global Bonding Conference Series 2016-17, initiated by IMI in charge of India. Xavier was a senior fellow of the Dispute Resolution Institute of the Hamline University School of Law, USA. Xavier is a member of the International Advisory Board of the Afghanistan Center of Commercial Dispute Resolution, Advisory Council for Global Mediators Network UK. He is nominated as one of the world's leading practitioners in the field of ADR by the Who's Who Legal London, UK in 2016, 17, and 18. Xavier is empaneled as an international mediator with the Singapore International Mediation Center, Singapore, and the Florence International Mediation Chamber, Florence, Italy. He's also empaneled as a senior mediator expert with the mainland Hong Kong Joint Mediation Center set up by the Chinese Council for Promotion and International Trade and Hong Kong Mediation Center, and also the Japan International Mediation Center in Kyoto, Japan. Xavier is also empaneled as a senior international mediation expert with the International Dispute Resolution and Risk Management Institute, Hong Kong. He is empaneled as an international arbitrator with the Newton Arbitration, London, and as an arbitrator with the High Court of Kerala, India. See, I did not read this because everybody may be knowing it, but I feel very proud to read this because he's from my town, Ernakulam, and he's like my elder brother. I'm so proud to welcome you, sir. I am so happy that you agreed to come to our platform and speak on mediation. Now we have few questions for, let me start the questionnaire with the permission of Prem Kumari. See, I know online platforms are not a post-COVID finding or development, at least among the mediators in the international community. But then, today in this situation, how do you introduce this online platform to the common man, like to us? I mean, as a common tool of a mediator or a party who is sitting in Chennai, Bangalore, or Cochin, trying to explore mediation as a means of resolution, both ways, in the side of the perspective of the mediator as also in the perspective of the party. Thank you. This will be my first question, sir.
Okay, thank you, Ampli, and thank you, Prem Kumari, for that wonderful introduction. And let me take it from Ampli, the first question, because see, when you're talking about online platform or virtual mediation, it's not something new or not something that was found because of COVID. But taking the cue from COVID, because we all know there are two terms normally used or associated with COVID. What are those terms? It is mitigation and adaptation. So see, social distancing and other things are used for mitigation, and adapting is to live with the virus, or how to live with the virus and how we can adapt in that lifestyle. So similarly, what we are looking at online mediation or online platform is, see, normally we say online mediation or online dispute resolution is ODR. But with respect to post-COVID scenario, I would rather rephrase it as it's a safer method. Safer, not in the sense of being safe, but I will say that it is another acronym that can be developed to show that it's a safe method. Because what I mean by safer is strategic alternative for effective resolution, SAFER. So online platform would be safer, not only for mediators, but also for participants for multifarious reasons. See, one is definitely we are going to be in this scenario of travel restrictions and other issues, at least for the next 1 year or maybe 2 years. So it would be impossible for us to travel across different states or even different countries to go for dispute resolution options, whether it is commercial or whether it is business or whether it is family disputes. You can't travel. So the only option left for the parties and for professionals would be a safer platform of an online dispute resolution, where you can address the parties, you can actually interact with the parties, and you can resolve the disputes in a much effective manner, both cost effective and efficiency wise. mostly, see, we are all anticipating economic, what do you call, recession during the next 1 year or 2 years. Maybe it lasts, many say it will last for the next 5 years. So it will be impossible for big companies to opt for dispute resolution options which are expensive, or we can say which are luxurious. Luxurious, I mean, see, most of the international arbitrations are a little bit luxurious, and it is meant for big companies. So it may be difficult for even for them to venture into this arbitration option. So many companies are now looking at mediation option. And see, this lockdown period of 40 days, so it is like there's a lockdown for 3 months all over the world. It is not just India, all over the world the lockdown is happening. And I would say this lockdown period was mostly utilized by ADR professionals and the think tank in the ADR industry to think about alternatives, how to make ADR more advantageous, because that will be, as I said, it is not only mitigating the problems that we would face in the future of dispute resolution processes, but also to how to make professionals and users to adapt into this new area of dispute resolution. So it is not something new, but it was not the normal. It's not the normal way in which dispute resolutions happened. But most probably in the next 2 years, we would be compelled to consider online as normal. And the years after that, maybe we will make it as a custom that will become the new normal. Okay.
So, Premi, would you like to have the next question?
Yes. So I would like to know, how do you handle conflict of laws during online mediation process?
See, with respect to conflict of laws, online doesn't make any difference, because whether you're going to have it offline, because this conflict of laws happens only in international mediations. And even when you're going for regular international mediations, which is offline, or which is what you call face-to-face mediations in a location, the parties already decide where and which law to apply. Because, see, mostly we are talking about laws which will determine the fate of the settlement agreement. Because the process, of course, the parties can decide as to what process they need to follow. The basic question of application of law comes to the implementation of the settlement terms as per the settlement agreement. And of course, right now, even though we have the Singapore Convention in place, it is not implemented, or it is not effective, because the Singapore Convention will come into effect only for settlement agreements made after September 2nd, 2020. So we are only in May now. So June, July, August, September, 4 months to go to make Singapore Convention effective. So we are what you call, till such time we need other options available to make settlement agreements effective, because we can't wait for 4 more months to see that online platforms are effective or international mediations are becoming effective. So and most of the domestic laws, see, of course, Singapore Convention has got an option for online processes, and they recognize online settlements, because they even recognize online signatures, digital signatures, and settlement agreements made digitally. Everything is being recognized by the Singapore Convention, but we need substantive laws to support the Singapore Convention. But India is making efforts to make its mediation law. But as I said, even if we make the mediation law, for the Singapore Convention to come into force, 3 countries have to ratify it. And now 3 countries have ratified it. Singapore has ratified, Fiji has ratified. The last country to ratify was Qatar. And the convention will come into effect only in September. So that means till such time, we have to find out other options to make it effective. And that can be only through institutional rules. Because in an arbitration, many of the virtual arbitrations, because many people are doing virtual arbitrations now. But if you're looking at virtual arbitration, even if you're looking at ad hoc virtual arbitration, there is an element of risk attached to virtual arbitration, because a party can always challenge that procedure, because it is not a procedure which is agreed by the parties, or because if the arbitrator is doing it so moto, it may not be a procedure which is agreed by the party. So there is an option for challenge. See, likewise, if you're doing mediation online, if it is not a process which is agreed by the parties or which is provided under an institutional rule, it could be a little defective because we don't have any substantive law to support it. So we need a provision under the rules where the parties agree to do online mediation based on certain agreements. So that is what we are trying to look at.
All right, thank you. And I would also like to ask you as to how to ensure confidentiality when, during arbitration or during online mediation proceedings.
See, confidentiality, of course, there are many security features that are being put into force, because if I'm talking about the application that we have made in AIA, see that Peacegate app, we have made provisions for creating general rooms and caucus rooms, and there is a specific requirement of a password and a OTP that is being sent to the parties to enter into the room. So only a party, because nobody can enter into the mediation room unless he's a registered participant. So each and every participant who are coming in for mediation, the lawyers, the mediator, the party, they have to register based on either by giving the email ID or the mobile number. And the OTP will be given to the mobile number so that they can access the rooms which they are allotted to. Because whether it's a general room or a caucus room, they can enter into the room only based on OTP. And even, see, we have a provision to make settlement agreements online and to sign these settlement agreements online. But the signatures also, see, once you sign it on your mobile phone and it is pasted to the settlement agreement, you are asked to enter the OTP which is being sent to your mobile number. So the security features are being made very tight, and every day based on some reviews on some, because now it is being used by many other countries also, because many countries have adopted this application for their mediations also. So based on their inputs, we are tightening the security and we are incorporating more features to make it more secure and more confidential.
So according to you, it has to be a customized platform, even customizing the requirement of that particular mediation or mediation center, or if it's an institutionalized mediation, to provide I think you got the question, please. I think you got the question.
Basically, see, mediation cannot be done, see, like a webinar like we are doing, because it doesn't have many security features. What we have done is, it is not just an online platform, it has to be AI supported, because artificial intelligence supporting or support is very, very much required. Because see, if you look at online display, any ODR, see, unlike the regular offline platform where there's a mediator and two parties or their lawyers, in an ODR platform, there is a third party, that is the admin or the technology. So the technology is also involved into this confidentiality. So a person who is attaching himself to the mediation process has to sign the confidentiality agreement, and the mediation process, the invitation to mediate, the agreement to mediate. Because see, when you're in an online platform, see, as we all know, when initially when the mediator discusses with the parties and the parties are agreeable to the mediation process, they sign the agreement to mediate. So the agreement to mediate has to be signed online, and we should be very clear that the party signing the agreement to mediate is actually the party, not somebody else.
Yes.
So, so you see, even if you're in a virtual platform where you can actually see them, but you do not know whether the party is signing it, because he cannot later on say that, no, I did not sign it, or somebody has hacked it. It cannot be done. So it has to be signed in the same instrument which has been registered in the app. And moreover, the app test, because the backup of the AI, it always look into the IP address from which it was signed, the mobile instrument from which it was signed. So the artificial intelligence takes care of the security features, whether the party who has signed is actually the party who is agreeable to mediation. And subsequently, when you sign the settlement agreement also, see, all these features are taken into consideration. And one of the advantages of AI implementation in the platform is, see, the life of the mediator has become much more easier, because you have to only negotiate with the parties and help them to come out with a resolution. The drafting of the settlement agreements, you have to only note down the settlement terms, and the application automatically generates a settlement agreement either under the domestic laws or if it's international mediation, it will take care of all the security or the legal requirements of the settlement agreement under the Singapore Convention. It automatically generates. So the mediator don't have to worry, especially if the mediator is a non-lawyer or a non-legal person.
I was just going to ask that question.
Yeah, I was expecting that from you because your body language showed that. So the thing is, for a non-legal person to comply with the terms of an international settlement agreement would be very tough. But if you're doing it online and if there is an AI assistance for it, it is very easy for him because only his skills to make the parties to come to a resolution only matters. The technical aspects and the secretarial work will be taken care by the AI assistant.
I think you have become so much of a pro mediator, Anil sir, that I think you're talking about commercial mediations here. Where do we go for the human factor in it? I mean, when you're doing an online thing, if I need to cry, what do I do?
Yes,
how will I make the mediator feel the effect of my emotions?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
See, in fact, there are two ways, because normally in most of the international online mediation platforms, earlier, till maybe if you look at 1 year back, most of the online mediations were happening by pure chatting. Even the video option was not available because it was chatting. And in Thailand, there was a government supported online platform where they could resolve disputes by chatting. But we are integrating this video technology, and I'm sure, normally inventions and innovations happens when you are put under pressure. When you face the back of the when you're put to the corner of the room, then you try to innovate. And I'm sure of course it is not just meant for mediation, but definitely the technology is moving towards teleportation. And what I'm feeling is within the next 5 years, we will not be sitting and talking in webinars or in laptop screens. We will be actually traveling or teleporting your image to the person. So when you are having mediation, the parties and the mediator and the lawyers who would be sitting in different parts of the world would actually meet at a single place by projecting their 3D image. That is going to happen in the next 5 years. So you can easily try. You can see the body language. You can feel the person. You can everything. It is like a physical.
So should we advise a girl who wants to be a mediator to marry a software engineer? IT professional, because now I think we have to be so technically sound to be a effective mediator. I mean, not at least somewhere close to a good mediator.
In fact, even if you're looking at online mediations through chatting. Normally we say seeing the party, looking at them, talking to them, and feeling their emotions and seeing their body language helps us. But people who are advocating in favor of online, and that too not a video platform, a chatting platform to mediate. They also highlight certain advantages of having online platform rather than personal presence, because there is always a bias of a mediator when you see parties. Suppose you are seeing a beautiful person before you, you feel a soft corner for that person. Or if a person is crying before you, you feel the mediator feels certain bias towards that person. Or suppose a person is little proud. He's sitting before you as if he's a very big person. You feel a little irritated. So all these negative biases can be removed if you're on an online platform.
Oh, that's a good side of it.
Yeah.
And, we have a very beautiful question from Mr. AJ Jawad, who is the speaker for tomorrow's session. So his question is, hi Anil, does online mediation affect mediators' ability to study the body language of the parties? Since you're an expert in the body language, has online mediation impeded your ability to study the body language?
Body language is also a very massive subject, and as mediators, we are normally restricted our body language studies to certain elements of, for example, the way in which you move your hand, the way in which you move your legs, the angles to which your eyes move, the curve of your lips. See, all these things are something which we always look in a regular mediation to understand where the party is moving forward, whether he's going to resolve it or whether he's going to walk out. But see, if you look at the framework of an online platform, see, you can always restrict, maybe you will not see the leg of a person when he's sitting in an online platform, but you can always see his movement of hands. You can always see the way in which his eyes are traveling, how his lips are curving, how his fingers are moving, or what all actions he shows in his expressions. So it is not that it is blocked, but there are, of course, there are certain restrictions when you are sitting online and when you are sitting offline. But in offline also, because in many centers I have seen that the entire body is blocked. You only see from the shoulders upwards. That is the furniture, the arrangement of the furniture, or the model of the furniture in some of the mediation centers are that you're actually seeing lesser than what you're seeing in online. So it is not that online is bad and only offline you can read body language. It is possible, but the only thing is you have to be little more, you have to add on little more expertise in your body language techniques. And see, one thing is very clear. Online is going to make the profession of mediation very competitive, because a person or a user sitting in Chennai need not always go to a mediator in Chennai when the platform is online. You can get a mediator from London, you can get it from US, anywhere, because your profession, your ambit of profession is expanded. Sitting in Chennai, you can mediate for any client sitting anywhere in the world. Similarly, a user has an opportunity to select the mediator from anywhere from the world. So the mediator cannot sit complacent. You cannot think that I'm in a very comfortable zone. I have a lot of clients, and those clients can only have an option of me as a mediator. So the mediator's life, of course, it will the profession will improve, but it will become very competitive when it is opening up to online, because the area of practice, you are expanding your area of practice. Similarly, the users will be having a lot of choices available.
Okay, now can I ask you a question? Remy, you're asking something?
No, please go ahead.
Okay, can I ask you a question which also concerns me most of the time? This is about the culture of different people, Anil. Anil sir, culture of different people will have a lot of role to play in when you for a mediator when you're mediating. So when in a commercial mediation and when you're taking into an online platform, don't you think that is a bar? Like you really don't get to interact or understand how culturally volatile a person is. What is his cultural background? So I feel that would be a lacuna. I mean, in my opinion, how do you see it?
See, it is not a lacuna of the system. It is a lacuna of the mediator. Because a mediator should learn the culture of the other countries if you want to mediate disputes of other countries. Because how do you differentiate the body language of different cultures? See, to become a mediator, it is not just 40 hours of mediation training. It's like a lawyer's profession where you learn every day. So if you're trying to extend your profession as a mediator in an international arena, you definitely need to study the cultures of other countries, especially, see, of course, nowadays, since the online platform is not very popular, you normally go for mediation for international matters, and you know in which all jurisdictions you are going to practice. So in that case, it's much more easier because you can learn the cultures of different countries and how they react, and even the words, which all words they use, because in certain cases, the word that we may use may be very provocative to them, and it will be suggesting something. So these type of words, but when you're in an online platform, the mediator has to be really very careful, and he will have to study. See, when a mediation, because see, now in fact, in our platform, in the Peacegate platform also, what we have done is, before the actual mediation starts, there's a provision for pre-mediation conference by the mediator and the lawyers. This is made just to know what type of dispute, and because it's a professional interaction and not to resolve the dispute, about the culture of that company or the people behind the dispute, and to what extent that the people are fighting with each other, or to what extent the dispute has gone. So there is an option for pre-mediation conference with the mediator and the lawyers if they need, and there is also a provision for submission of a pre-mediation paper or a position paper to the mediator, so that he can study the paper and understand the cultural differences and from which area they are coming. So it's a more professional approach.
Premi, you have some questions in the question and answer session. You have to unmute.
Sorry. So we've been getting a lot of questions from the participants. So one question from Mr. Rahul. How can we ensure that there is no coaching of witnesses when we have virtual questioning?
That is not relevant for a mediation. Well, how can you coach a witness?
First of all, there is no witness in mediation.
True. But since we've got the question, I thought I'll just put it across. We also have a
maybe we can answer it in a different way. See, that is one of the major problems that has been in the thought process of all ODR practitioners and all ODR platform developers, because see, that is why we have opted the OTP method of allowing a person to enter the room. But the problem is virtual room. But the problem is, even if suppose now I can see Ambli sitting there and Prem Kumari sitting there. But I do not know whether somebody else is sitting just beyond the camera frame of your room. Because that I do not know whether somebody is sitting there beyond the camera frame. So that problem is always there in an online platform, whether somebody else is sitting there in that room and listening to everything.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
So that problem is there. But the only way out is many countries have tried it to see, like when you enter, there will be some terms and conditions. So you tick the term and enter. So that is an affidavit or an undertaking that there are nobody else in the room and whatever is being said is confidential. See, there are certain problems, but as I said earlier, it will find.
Yeah, I think even that will prevent recording of the proceedings as well by one of the parties.
No, the platform actually prevents. See, that is why dedicated platforms are required, because under the Peacegate application, whatever messages are sent or whatever options are being done, it automatically gets erased and it is not copyable or it is not recordable. Even the communications or the invitations sent are not. You cannot copy paste it. Of course, you can type it. You can look into that and type it.
Yeah, thank you.
I think Uma Ramanathan.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Uma Ramanathan, ma'am. Yeah. You are reading it. So Uma Ramanathan, ma'am, wants to ask: how do parties interact in one line, and how is trust and rapport built between parties to decide on consistency and commitment in ODR? Is a question.
No, what do you mean by one line? Because there is no restriction in the time which you can talk. Because when you are talking or when you are chatting in a platform, then the conversation would be limited. But it's a video platform. In fact, we are also looking at virtual rooms. We are trying to create virtual rooms where the party can actually feel like coming and sitting inside a room. So that, definitely this ODR platform, because as I said, the technology is far developing. And from the base of SMS, now we have gone to WhatsApp, and from there, we are sitting here and talking in a webinar. So the technology is very fast developing. As I said, in the next few years, we will actually see teleportation and those type of technologies coming up. So it is not that there is a restriction in talking. There is a restriction in the number of words that you can say. You can see it's only a platform. There is no difference. Instead of me coming and sitting in your office, I'm actually sitting in an online platform and I am mediating. So there is absolutely no difference. And now, see, there are technologies which can merge screens. The parties and the lawyers. See, even in our platform, the Peacegate platform, we have caucus rooms for the lawyers and the parties to have caucus discussions, where the mediator is also not there. And the only, in fact, one of the feedbacks that we got from one of the countries is, in actual mediation, when the party and the lawyer goes for a caucus and the mediator asks them to come back after 10 minutes, if they don't come back, the mediator will have to wait. but here the mediator controls the room, so he can open the room and ask them to come in. So will it affect the confidentiality of the lawyer and the party? But that also, see, you can have restrictions for that, because you can have a locking system where when the party and the lawyer goes into the room, they can lock from inside, so that nobody can open it from outside. So that those things are possible.
What are the general protocols? I mean, general, I don't want to get into the general protocols of an online mediation, Anil sir. What would be if you can share 5 with us?
See, general protocols are one, see, the parties should agree, because see, if you look at the format of a settlement, of an agreement to mediate. See, normally when you sign an agreement to mediate, they will say that, see, they are agreeable for this mediator, and it's a voluntary process. And the parties are free to get out of the mediation process whenever they like, and they will not take the mediator to a court as a witness. All these general protocols are there. But in an online platform, the parties will also have to agree on the software, security features of the software, and they are agreeable that whatever the security features are available, and the signatures and the communications given during the course of mediation are correct, and question it, and it will be so they, in the agreement to mediate itself, they have to agree on the protocols of online platform. That is mandatory. And even in the settlement agreement, you need to mention that the parties have agreed to mediate under the online platform, and the parties have virtually come to a meeting, and they have understood the security features of the platform, and they have agreed, and then they have come to a resolution. So that those things should be reflected in the settlement agreement. If it is not there, then it's a difficulty, because even if you use an online platform for a mediation, but that is not reflected in the settlement agreement, then a party can say, see, this is incorrect, because we did not actually have a regular or a physical meeting, and everything was done by the mediator through a platform, and I did not get the actual things that were expressed to me. So everything has to be reflected, especially in the agreement to mediate, and also in the settlement agreement. There has to be a specific mention about the online platform.
I have a very interesting question by Swapna Sundari. Prem, did you see that?
Yeah.
What immunities or potential liability does a mediator incur or have while on online mediation? For example, an error in connectivity leading to misunderstanding, etc.
Okay. See, there also, see, that is why I said these things are reflected in the mediation rules of an institution, because that is why we need a specific mediation rules, because in the mediation rules, all these contingencies of getting disconnected, what happens if there's a disconnection, or suppose one party logs out and the mediator is still continuing waiting for that party to log in, but in the meantime there would be some exchange of information or some discussions happening with one party. So what happens in those circumstances? See, and what happens if the party is unable to log in, or the mediator thinks that he has left the meeting without, or he's not agreeable for mediation, and he closes the mediation without understanding that it was an accidental log off. So these type of things are handled, and what are the protocols to be followed? What are the messages that will automatically? See, that is why I said AI assistance is of great importance in these areas, because a mediator cannot actually, as Ampli said, otherwise a mediator has to marry an IT professional, because he cannot always look into the IT options and technical aspects and mediate. So the problem, these type of technical errors have to be handled by an AI-assisted platform, because these things to be handled should be handled by the AI assistants. Because suppose one party locks off, then automatically notification should go to both parties that there's a what do you call, log off by one party, and the intimation should go to their mobile numbers. Because now what we do is we do not spare any modes of communication. We give a notification, an app notification which will pop up in your mobile screen, an SMS notification, and also an email. So all the three types of communication goes to every incident. So whenever there's a lack of communication or there's an error, communication will go to other parties. So either through SMS or by email or by notification, the admin will get a reply as to what is happening. So that will be communicated to the mediator. So of course, it's a beginning of a new custom or a new tradition of mediation, but definitely this will go a long. It will travel a long way.
in continuation of the artificial intelligence scenario, there's another question by one of by tomorrow's speaker, Mr. AJ Javed. So how do you see the role of AI in the future of dispute resolution? Do you see it replacing human intervention? How effective would it be from human relational perspective?
See, right now, I think in the next 3-4 years, AI may not interfere into human relationships, but we do not know the future. Definitely going by the pace in which technology is developing, definitely AI would overtake human emotions and human empathy, because empathy and emotions are something which the AI has not touched to a great extent so far. But of course, there are certain innovations where empathy is also now considered under this AI interference. But definitely, I think if you consider other professions like lawyers, doctors, engineers, judges, the life of the mediator is much more secure even during the AI period, because there are certain elements which only a mediator can handle. But not being very optimist, what I would feel is maybe in the next 10 years, there will be a lot of interference in AI, even in the field of mediator. But of course, what I take it positively is, see, there would be some assistance for the mediator to understand the opposite side. Because see, even if you see that a person, suppose a person comes in from a rural background or a city background, who is around the age of 35, who is a male, who is unemployed, who has got a degree, or see, there are certain criteria. Then of course, if the mediator comes to understand, the AI supports him, saying that, so you can expect these type of behaviors from this person, and this is how you need to handle his emotions, and this is how you have to handle his conversation. See, this is a great assistance to the mediator, because you are getting some inputs about that character of that person and how these type of people. See, for every different characters, you will have AI support. So it is not something that is bad, but it should not be too mechanical. There should be a human element for that. But definitely, it will increase professionalism, and especially for commercial mediation, that will be a lot of help.
To reconnect. Thank you so much. It was an amazing session. My gratitude to all the participants who waited and supported. We will definitely conduct yet another session with Anil Xavier with more details and more interesting things about online mediation. So thank you very much, Prem Rajkumari, for the coordination and the help. And I'll have to thank. We will try to wrap up now. I'm sure we're going to see each other tomorrow at 5 to 6. Tomorrow session is at 5 to 6. Javed sir is talking to us on pre-litigation mediation and more. Thank you so much for logging in. Thank you so much for being a part of CIMO. CIMO is extremely proud that all of you supported, and we will come back to you tomorrow at the same time. Not same time, actually a little earlier, 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And we will have an extremely good session with Javed sir. Looking forward for that. Thank you. Jai Hind.